Hi guys, what we're just going to have a quick look over is a different way of plugging the Axe effects through any analog amp. Everyone's kind of familiar with just running output 1 out the back of the Axe into the effects return, just so you're using the power amp of whatever head you happen to be using, and just running all the pre's off the Axe and all your effects and everything straight off of that. The way I've got this hooked up gives you quite a few more options though. So if we jump round to the back, you'll be able to see I've got a lot more cables hooked up. Alright, so firstly what you'll notice is we're using output 2, output 1 and input 2. So input 2 is coming from, bloody cables, the effects loop from the head. So that's the send from the orange coming up to input 2. Output 1 as normal goes down to the head and goes into the return, which is the one on the left down there. Alright, so that's if you're just using the Axe as your standard preamp emulator. Output 2, one of those strange ones that no one ever seems to use, actually comes around the front and is plugged in there, in front of the orange. So normal input 1 on the front, coming straight from the signal line, which is over there somewhere. Alright, so coming back, what effectively this does is, if I can position this right, is you'll notice on input 2 and output 2 you've got effects send and effects return. What effectively you've done is the orange is now in the effects loop of the Axe. Bit backwards really, isn't it? So what we've got here is I've set up a blank patch just to show you how to plumb this in. So, right, to get the orange, in my case, to come through the Axe, all you have to do is select the effects loop. That's it. All that's done now is turn input 2 and output 2 on the back, just turned them on. So the signal will come in as normal, go through, out of that, into the front of the orange, through the orange's preamp, back into the Axe, back out of the Axe, into the orange's preamp, and out into your cab. So it's a little bit of a longer signal chain, but effectively you're just running the head. So we end up with something like this. Albeit a little bit quiet. Alright, what this still allows you, because you've got all the blank spacing afterwards and all of the blank patches before, is to throw in any effects pre, or if you wanted post, the power amp. So effectively, if it's pre, it's like having your pedals on the floor, or if it's post, it's like putting the pedals through the axes, not the axes, through the orange's effects loop. So if I give that a quick edit, what have we got there? Throw that one there. I have no idea which one this is. Give it a quicker tempo. So we've got having it pre the orange, or if we jump over to this one, we can throw it post the orange, well, post the preamp anyway. So you've got massive amounts of flexibility of where to run the effects. Now what you can still do, and I'll pull up one of my presets, is use the Axe as you normally would, just as the preamp and effects emulator. So what I've got running here, it's a nice little simple one, is just one of my clean tones on the floor, and I'll do a proper video for it at another time. I've got the MIDI 8 floor controller hooked up via MIDI to the back of the Axe, putting up my presets. But this is one of my clean tones, So it's still using the power stage of the Orange, but now using the Axe as the preamp and effects. And then simply, at the flick of a switch, back to running the Orange by itself. So, it's only a subtle change. This is one of the suggested wirings in the Axe manual, but it gives you so much more option, effectively throwing in another amp. Now I know those of you out there with the Axe 2 will say, well, just sample it. But even the die-hard Axe fans out there, you still got to admit there's something about analog, and this still allows you to do that. Last thing you should go over, actually, thinking about it, is these, the volume controls. Now, in 1 is still your standard in 1. In 2 is the level coming in from the Orange's preamp. Right? So as with any other input level on the Axe, you want it to be just hitting the Orange, sometimes clipping the red. It's not actually clipping at that point. If it maxes the red, that's when it starts clipping, you get that horrible digital distortion. But just sometimes pushing into red, just to make sure you get the gain stages right. Output 2 is the input, and that's confusing, isn't it? Output into input is the output into the front of the Orange. Right? And then output 1 runs, obviously again, out of the Axe into the effects return, so into the power stage on the Orange. It's a bit arse about face, but effectively this is the way it works. Signal in on the back from the head, from the Orange. Main output, so if I turn that back on, just going to get wearing away. This is your main output. And what output 2 is effectively, you could think of it as the volume control on your guitar. So the more you push that, the more the front end of my Orange, or whatever head you use, is being pushed. But anyway, that's effectively another way of running the Axe effects. It requires a few more cables and a little bit of tweaking to get all of these volume controls just about right. But I like it, and I think it gives a lot more options. So, hope you found that useful, guys, and stay tuned. I should be doing quite soon a video on the Gig Rig MIDI 8 and the wonderful world of MIDI control. But thanks for watching, guys.